Welcome to the deep dive, where we really get into the sources so you don't have to. Today, we're looking at an actor who, well, his whole career seems built on transformation. We're talking huge blockbusters, intense indie films, even, serious stage work.
That's right. We're focusing on Jacob Benjamin Gyllenhaal. And what's so interesting, I think, is how he's managed to stay both critically loved and commercially successful for, over 30 years now? Always pushing boundaries.
Yeah, exactly.
So our mission for you, the listener, is to kind of map out that journey. We'll hit the key moments that really surprising family background, the roles that really marked each decade, and the artistic drive that makes him more than just a typical movie star.
Okay, and we have to start with our name nugget, because apparently we've all been saying it wrong, mostly.
Oh, yeah.
He's mentioned it quite a bit. Says basically only people in Sweden and maybe IKEA get it right. The sources confirm his Swedish roots mean it's pronounced Gyllenhaal. So Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal. Got it. Kind of fits, doesn't it? That mix of noble heritage and down-to-earth quality. Which actually leads us straight into section 1. His early life and how he got started.
Right. So born December 19th, 1980 in Los Angeles. And this wasn't just, living near Hollywood. His family was Hollywood, pretty much.
Absolutely. His father, Stephen Gyllenhaal, a director. His mother, Naomi Foner, a screenwriter. And his older sister, of course, Maggie Gyllenhaal, the actress.
So deep industry roots.
Deep roots.
Yeah.
But the background itself is really interesting. You've got the Swedish nobility on his dad's side, the Gyllenhaal name.
His father was raised Swedenborgian Christian.
Okay, Swedenborgian. That's not something you hear every day.
No, it's not. And it might be key here. It emphasizes spiritual life, yes, but really practical charity and social usefulness over just belief. A very thoughtful, disciplined approach.
And his mother?
His mother is Ashkenazi Jewish, family from Russia and Poland. And Jake himself has always said he considers himself Jewish.
Yeah.
So you have this blend. That blend plus the Hollywood privilege. How did his parents handle that? The Swedenborgian influence, maybe?
I think so. Because they seemed very focused on making sure he and Maggie didn't get lost in the LA bubble. Which brings us to that incredible story about his 13th birthday.
The bar mitzvah-like act.
Right.
Instead of a big party.
Exactly. No lavish celebration. They had him volunteer at a homeless shelter. The whole point was to instill gratitude, make him aware of his privilege. It's a really deliberate act of grounding.
That's pretty remarkable parenting, especially in that environment. And this theme of discipline, of internal focus, it really does seem to run through his whole career.
It does. Oh, and another early life detail from the sources, he's actually legally blind. Has worn corrective lenses since he was about 6.
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay, so moving into his actual career beginnings, even with director-writer parents, it wasn't just handed to him, was it?
Not at all. He debuted young, age 10, in City Slickers, playing Billy Crystal's son, 1991.
But the parental rules were strict.
Very strict. They really limited what he could do. Like that famous story about the Mighty Ducks in 1992.
Right, he almost got cast, but...
His parents said no, because it meant leaving home for 2 months to film. Apparently, they'd often let him audition, but if he actually got the part, they'd frequently refuse permission. They wanted him to have a somewhat normal childhood.
So, exceptions were rare. The sources mentioned Josh and SAM in '93 as one he was allowed to do.
Yeah, besides that, it was mostly small parts in his dad's films, like A Dangerous Woman with Maggie or Homegrown, and even an episode of Homicide. Life on the Street, his dad directed.
And they made him get summer jobs, too, not just acting.
Mm-hmm. Lifeguard, busboy at a restaurant run by a family friend, real-world stuff, responsibility, discipline again.
Okay, so this structured upbringing continues. He graduates from Harvard Westlake School in '98, a pretty prestigious place. And then he doesn't just jump into movies full-time.
Nope. He goes to Columbia University. His mom's alma mater, Maggie, was there too. He studied Eastern religions and philosophy, lived in John Jay Hall.
Eastern religions and philosophy. Interesting choice.
It fits, right? That thoughtful, internal focus. He did drop out after 2 years to really commit to acting, but he's always said he plans to go back and finish his degree someday. You can kind of see how that academic stint might inform the depth he brings to roles later.
And that commitment paid off fast. His big breakthrough came pretty much right after leaving Columbia.
Yeah, with October Sky in 1999, playing Homer Hickam, the kid from coal country, trying to win a science scholarship.
Yeah.
It was his first real lead. And critics loved him in it, praised his sincerity, his portrayal of, intelligence and ambition against the odds.
It really set the stage perfectly for what came next, which was, well, a bit of a phenomenon.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because 2001 brings Donnie Darko, and that film's journey is just fascinating.
Right. Total flop at the box office initially. Like, barely made any money.
Yeah, released right after 9/11. Maybe the timing was just wrong for its kind of dark, apocalyptic vibe. But then the DVD comes out.
And boom, massive cult hit. It really defined his early image, didn't it?
Completely. It was only his second lead role, playing this, deeply troubled kid, seeing visions of this creepy rabbit Frank. And critics pointed out how he could seem both blandly normal and profoundly disturbed, sometimes in the same breath.
That specific skill, that ability to hold contradictory states, that became his thing.
Exactly. He nailed that turn of the millennium anxiety, and he followed it up with roles that kind of fit that mold, troubled young men, often in messy relationships with older women, like in The Good Girl or Lovely and Amazing in 2002.
But it wasn't all serious indie cred, right? We have to mention Bubble Boy.
Oh, God, Bubble Boy. 2001, yeah, that romantic comedy got absolutely savaged by critics, like truly terrible reviews.
So he was taking risks, trying different things, even if they didn't always land.
For sure. And amidst all this film work, he makes a really significant move, one that connects back to that idea of discipline and maybe artistic seriousness.
The stage debut.
Exactly. 2002, London. Kenneth Lonergan's This Is Our Youth at the Garrick Theatre. For a young American actor with movie buzz going to the London stage, that's a statement.
Why did he say he did it?
He basically said all the actors he respected had done theater, so he felt he had to test himself there. It wasn't about the money, it was about the craft.
And it worked out pretty well for him.
Instantly. It's only an 8-week run, but he won the Evening Standard Theater Award for Outstanding Newcomer. So right away you see this tension established, the pull of Hollywood films versus the rigorous demands of the stage.
Which makes the next part of this period even more interesting. He's proving himself on stage, but Hollywood comes calling with some potentially huge franchise-defining roles.
The big almosts.
Yeah. First, Spider-Man 2. This was around 2003 for the 2004 release. Tobey Maguire's health was uncertain.
Right. Back issues or something. And Gyllenhaal was seriously lined up to take over as Peter Parker. Maguire recovered, obviously, but Jake was that close. He used to joke about cabbies calling him Spider-Man because they looked alike.
And the other one, arguably even bigger, for defining a franchise.
Batman Begins. He auditioned for Bruce Wayne. Got very close again, apparently, before Christopher Nolan went with Christian Bale.
Imagine how different things might look if he'd gotten either of those.
Totally different career path.
Right, yeah.
Missing out maybe allowed him to keep pursuing those complex character roles instead of being locked into a superhero suit for years.
Although he did dip his toe into the blockbuster world properly around then.
He did. The Day After Tomorrow in 2004. The big Roland Emmerich disaster movie with Dennis Quaid. That gave him huge global exposure, definitely broadened his audience. And it kind of paved the way for the film that would absolutely define that mid-2000s period for him.
And that film has to be Brokeback Mountain. 2005, Ang Lee directing him opposite Heath Ledger as Jack Twist. I mean, that film was just
huge.
Critically, culturally.
A landmark film, no question. It won the Golden Lion in Venice, got 3 Oscars. And Gyllenhaal's performance was immediately singled out. He won the BAFTA for Best Supporting Actor, got the Oscar nomination himself, lost to George Clooney, but still a massive moment.
Plus the MTV Movie Award for Best Kiss with Ledger. That shows how much it broke into the mainstream, right?
Absolutely. It was everywhere. And Gyllenhaal's comments about working with Ang Lee are interesting. He praised Lee's sensitivity, how encouraging he was, especially with such delicate material. But he also said Lee kind of disconnected from the actors emotionally once filming started.
How did he take that? Was it like a trust thing or just difficult?
Seems like he saw it as Lee trusting them to find their own way, but it could feel a bit isolating. It apparently forced him and Ledger to rely really heavily on each other, creating this intense bond on set, which, probably helped the film's chemistry immensely.
Yeah, you can see that. And the cultural impact led to a lot of speculation about his own life, his sexuality. How did he handle that?
Really smartly, I think. He didn't get defensive. He actually said he found the rumors he might be bisexual flattering because it meant his performance was believable. He said it showed he could play different kinds of roles and was open to whatever people want to call me. Basically turned the noise into a testament to his acting.
Very professional. Okay, so after Brokeback, he really seems to lean into these intense, often thriller-type roles.
Definitely. He did Jarhead in 2005, Sam Mendes directing, playing a Marine in the Gulf War.
Yeah.
Praised for showing the character's sort of internal life, the intelligence behind the uniform.
And then Zodiac in 2007 with David Fincher, That required some serious prep work.
Oh, yeah. Playing Robert Graysmith, the cartoonist obsessed with the Zodiac Killer. Gyllenhaal actually met Graysmith, spent time with him. But the key thing, he videotaped him a lot.
Why the videotape specifically?
To capture every little mannerism, how he moved, talked, held himself. Fincher's known for doing tons of takes, so Gyllenhaal needed to have that character locked down authentically, repeat after repeat. He wanted the real Graysmith, not just an actor's idea of him.
That dedication. Wow. It continued with Rendition in 2007, another political thriller. He starred with Reese Witherspoon in that one.
Whom he dated for a couple of years after, yeah. And Meryl Streep was in it, too.
But he wasn't only doing thrillers, he kept mixing it up.
Right. He did Brothers in 2009 with Tobey Maguire, the guy he almost replaced as Spider-Man and Natalie Portman. He actually said watching Maguire work on that film really influenced his own acting approach. Always learning.
Then 2010 was a big year, testing his blockbuster potential again.
Yeah, Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time, the big Disney video game adaptation, huge budget, very physical role. It showed he could carry an action movie even if the film itself wasn't a massive franchise starter.
But he balanced it immediately.
He did. Same year, Love and Other Drugs with Anne Hathaway, romantic dramedy, earned him a Golden Globe nomination, showed that range again.
And he rounded out this period with Source Code in 2011, sci-fi thriller.
Duncan Jones directed that one. Time loop premise. Critics felt the plot was a bit out there, but praised the performances, especially his. So by this point, he's proven he can do prestige drama, intense thrillers, blockbusters, romantic leads. He's really solidified his versatility. Okay, so this next stretch, from about 2012 onwards, this is where the transformations become, well, almost legendary. The physical and psychological commitment just ramps up. And his international standing got a boost, too. He was on the jury at the Berlin Film Festival in 2012.
It really kicks off with End of Watch, right? 2012. Playing an LAPD officer alongside Michael Pena. And he produced it, too.
Yeah, and the prep for that was insane. Not just tactical training, but they did actual ride-alongs with LAPD officers, like real shifts, real calls, immersing themselves completely.
And the reviews reflected that authenticity. Roger Ebert called it one of the best police movies in recent years. That grit really came across.
It did. And that intensity carried right into his work with Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah.
They did 2 films back-to-back in 2013. Gyllenhaal called Villeneuve like an older brother.
First Prisoners. He played Detective Loki, a really tightly wound, mysterious character. Critics called his performance exceptional.
So subtle, so controlled. And then immediately after, Enemy. Totally different gear. He played a dual role, this meek history professor and his charismatic, kind of dangerous look-alike. Just a masterclass in playing opposing forces within one film.
That really showcased his range in handling psychological tension. But the absolute peak of this transformative period has to be Nightcrawler in 2014.
Oh, without a doubt. He produced it, starred as Louis Bloom, that absolutely creepy, ambitious freelance cameraman chasing crime scenes. The physical change alone was startling.
Yeah, he lost, what, 30 pounds for that? Looked almost skeletal.
Deliberately gaunt, yeah. To capture that predatory, almost nocturnal feel of the character, and the performance itself so unsettling, so magnetic. Golden Globe, SAG nominations. Critics just raved about his attention-grabbing, memorable presence. It became iconic.
And then he flips it completely for Southpaw the next year, 2015, playing a boxer.
Total physical reversal. From gaunt Lou Bloom to this bulked-up, ripped boxer, apparently trained like crazy, 6 hours a day sometimes, to make the boxing look real. And critics bought it, praising the fighting, but also the emotional vulnerability he brought. It was never just about the body. It served the character.
He kept pushing. Demolition in 2016, playing a grieving investment banker kind of falling apart and rebuilding. Reviewers liked how he captured that boyish curiosity as the character rediscovered life.
Same year, Nocturnal Animals, Tom Ford's stylish thriller, another dual role essentially, praised for the rich emotional shadings.
And then Stronger in 2017, playing Jeff Bauman, the Boston Marathon bombing survivor. That must have been incredibly demanding emotionally.
Hugely. He spent a lot of time with Bauman, trying to understand that experience authentically, respectfully. Critics called it an outstanding performance, really highlighting his empathy and versatility.
But crucially, while all this intense film work is happening, he's doubling down on his stage commitment. He doesn't let that slide.
Not at all. He makes his proper Broadway debut in 2015 in a play called Constellations opposite Ruth Wilson.
But the big one was the Sondheim musical, right?
Sunday in the Park with George, yeah. He did some benefit concerts in 2016 playing George's Seurat. And they were such a hit, they moved it to Broadway for a full revival in 2017.
I remember the reviews for that. The New York Times said he had this searing theatrical presence and that his eyes were his center of gravity.
That's a great line. It connects all the way back to Donnie Darko, right? That ability to convey so much intensity just with his gaze, whether it's on screen or commanding a Broadway stage. He was just operating at an incredibly high level in both mediums simultaneously.
Okay, so he's conquered serious drama, indie transformations, Broadway. What's next? Well, how about returning to the biggest stage of all, the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Exactly. 2019, Spider-Man. Far From Home. He plays Quentin Beck, Mysterio, and it becomes his highest-grossing film ever.
And Mysterio was kind of the perfect role for him, wasn't it? All about illusion, performance.
Totally. It let him blend that theatrical skill he'd honed on stage with the demands of a huge CGI blockbuster. Mysterio is basically an actor putting on a show, and Gyllenhaal just nailed that meta quality.
Also in 2019, he re-teamed with his Nightcrawler director, Dan Gilroy, for Velvet Buzzsaw. Shows he values those key director relationships.
Definitely. More recently, though, the focus seems to have shifted back towards action and thrillers, but often with an intense core.
Like The Guilty in 2021, that was pretty much just him on the phone under immense pressure as a 911 dispatcher. Very contained, very tense.
Right, and then full-blown Michael Bay action in Ambulance in 2022. Playing a criminal in this chaotic heist movie showed he could handle that really kinetic, almost overwhelming style.
And most recently, Roadhouse, the 2024 remake. Directed by Doug Liman, he played Dalton, the ex-UFC fighter turned bouncer, another major physical transformation for that.
Yeah, got absolutely jacked again. The commitment level just doesn't drop. And significantly, after Roadhouse, something important happened off-screen.
His production company, 9 Stories,
Signed a first-look deal with Amazon MGM Studios. That's a big deal. It means Amazon gets first dibs on anything his company develops. It marks his shift, right? He's not just an actor for hire anymore. He's actively shaping projects, becoming a producer with real influence, using his taste, his credibility to get things made.
So he's building power behind the camera too, but the stage is still calling.
Always. In 2019, he did Seawall of Life on Broadway, 2 paired monologues, and got a Tony nomination for Best Actor.
Which brings us to the future, and arguably his most ambitious stage role yet.
It's huge. He's coming back to Broadway in 2025 to play Iago in Shakespeare's Othello, opposite Denzel Washington as Othello.
Wow, Iago, that's climbing Mount Everest for an actor, isn't it?
Pretty much. One of the most complex, manipulative, purely villainous roles ever written. A massive undertaking.
So outside of the work, how does Gyllenhaal navigate the public eye? He's obviously, considered very handsome, People magazine's most beautiful, hottest bachelors, all that stuff back in the day.
Yeah, he's had that leading man image. Shalom Life also listed him as one of the most talented, intelligent, funny, and gorgeous Jewish men. So the public perception is definitely there.
And his connections within the industry are just incredibly deep, going way back. His godparents.
It's quite a list. Paul Newman was his godfather. Jamie Lee Curtis is his godmother. He also mentioned having godparents who are a gay couple, and the cinematographer Robert Elswit speaks to a very kind of artistic, open upbringing.
Definitely. And a really poignant connection from his career.
He's the godfather to Matilda Rose Ledger, Heath Ledger, and Michelle Williams' daughter. That shows a real depth of personal connection carrying on after Heath's passing.
That's lovely. There's also a slightly wild story from the sources about him being a real-life action hero.
Yeah, kinda. It was 2006. He and Maggie were staying at this historic place, Manca's Inverness Lodge in California. A tree fell, started a fire, and the lodge actually burned down.
And he wasn't just, running away.
No. The co-owner said Jake was right there with him, helping pull things out of the building as the fire was taking hold. Just jumped into action. It fits that practical, grounded side we talked about earlier.
It does. Okay, briefly on relationships, the public knows the main ones. Kirsten Dunst early on, 2002 to 2004.
Then Reese Witherspoon, his rendition co-star, from about 2007 to 2009.
The one that got maybe the most media frenzy was Taylor Swift, late 2010, early 2018. Very short, very publicized.
Right. And currently, he's been dating French model Jean Cadu since late 2018. Seems much more low-key.
Okay, let's touch on his political and social engagement. He's clearly aligned with the Democratic Party.
Yeah, campaigned for John Kerry back in 2004, supported Beto O'Rourke in 2018. He's consistently shown up for them.
But he has this interesting take on celebrities and politics. He seems kind of uncomfortable with it.
He does. He's expressed frustration, saying he prefers to make his political points through the films he chooses, rather than, making grand statements. He famously said something like, "It's a sad time when actors are politicians and politicians are actors."
That's a sharp critique.
It is. It feels like he's wary of performative politics, maybe. He seems to value authenticity and thinks maybe actors jumping into the fray dilutes both roles.
Yet, despite that hesitation about talking politics, he's very active in actual causes.
Very. He supported Rock the Vote, the ACLU, Stand Up to Cancer, and notably, the Headstrong Project, which helps veterans with PTSD. He puts his time and resources in.
And environmental issues seem really important to him, too.
They do, and it connects directly back to The Day After Tomorrow. After filming that movie about climate disaster, he actually flew to the Arctic.
To raise awareness.
Yeah. Seems like making that film, then seeing the Arctic firsthand, really solidified his commitment. He recycles? Sure. But he also actively pays to plant trees in Mozambique through a program called Future Forests. He's mentioned Greta Thunberg as someone who inspires him.
It all seems to circle back to that sense of discipline and maybe mindfulness we started with. He's studied Buddhism.
He has. He said, I am not a card-carrying Buddhist, but I do try to practice mindfulness. Tries to meditate daily. You get the sense that this inner work is what fuels his ability to handle the intensity of his career as his activism. Hashtag tag outro. So when you look at the whole picture, the really striking thing about Jake Gyllenhaal's career is this incredible balancing act he's pulled off.
Yeah, absolutely. He reached blockbuster success with films like The Day After Tomorrow, Prince of Persia, later Spider-Man, huge commercial hits.
But he never just stayed there. He constantly took that success and plowed it back into really difficult, artistically challenging work.
The deep dives into character, End of Watch, Nightcrawler, Stronger, roles that demanded everything physically and mentally.
And always that parallel commitment to the stage. Earning those awards, tackling Sondheim, proving his classical chops. His career isn't just one thing, it's defined by the range, by the constant transformation.
Which leads perfectly into our final thought for you, the listener. Think about that upcoming role, Iago in Othello on Broadway.
Iago. It's arguably Shakespeare's most purely psychologically manipulative villain. A character built on deception, resentment, and sheer intellectual evil. It requires immense control, incredible nuance.
Yeah, it's not just about being bad. It's about the intricate performance of goodness to mask the bad.
Exactly. So the question is, how will this actor, who has spent 30 years mastering transformation on screen, who developed that searing theatrical presence, how will he now tackle one of the ultimate stage roles? A role that is, itself, about the performance of identity.
It feels like the ultimate synthesis of everything he's done, the psychological depth, the stagecraft, the sheer ambition. It's a massive challenge, and it tells you he's nowhere near done pushing himself. Definitely one to watch.